Hello, JCI USA. Welcome to episode 35 of Leadership Live. Tonight, I have past National President Jennifer Ray. She's also the chair of the Celebration of the Century, which is our 100th anniversary celebration. And so I'm super excited to talk to her. If you haven't seen it yet, our convention that was supposed to be in St. Louis in October, it's going completely digital. So make sure that you check out the Facebook event page and check on all the different things that we'll be offering, because it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to reach out and touch all the members. And so we're super excited about that. So make sure that you follow that page. All right. So we are going to bring in past President Jen Ray. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hello. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks. So how are things going with the planning committee for Celebration of the Century?
Well, definitely have a little bit of a change. However, it is 100 years as a national organization. So, even as a virtual event in October, which the board of directors approved, we are still going to do something this year. However, the major extravaganza for Celebration of the Century has been postponed by a year. And so, when we are all together again next fall, uh, in St. Louis, we will have our extravaganza for the celebration of the century then. So we'll simply celebrate 100 years in our 101st year.
So we were able to technically celebrate 101 years.
Absolutely. I mean, let's just keep celebrating. That's really what it's all about. Because why not celebrate when you're a part of this organization?
Exactly. Hi, Eureka. Hey, Trisha. Eureka says two of her favorites. So,
Nice.
um,
So,
so if we have a whole extra year, that just means that we can make an even bigger and better celebration.
no doubt. And we're still going to continue to do things this year because, of course, 2020 is, a lot of people are saying 2020 is the new number 13 and everything else. But there's still a lot of great things. And one of them is, as JC's and to celebrate our 100th anniversary, everyone can still do projects that impact at least 100 people and have those advertised. So we still want to encourage people to participate in that. And of course, doing the 100 amazing people. You don't have to be in person to interview someone. You can do it virtually. I mean, we're doing it right now.
Right.
And promote the JCs, promote things that are still going on, even in the face of a pandemic. And some of the projects that people are talking about and are doing are just simply phenomenal. I know your own chapter was doing a few things. Do you want to share that? See, look at this. I turned the tables. I'm interviewing you now. So tell me what your chapter was doing.
Well, our chapter had the Hattiesburg Strong, and it was helping the service industry workers. So we sold T-shirts, and we set up a virtual tip jar for like musicians and bartenders. And so we encouraged every time someone was, eating at home or drinking, they just went and scrolled down. We had a list of all of the bartenders and wait staff that were out of work, and they could just go and virtually give them money through like Venmo or Cash App. So that was pretty well received through the community.
That's awesome. And JCI Iowa, have you heard about what they're doing?
Yeah, they're rock stars too. And so is
Yeah.
Houston. I mean, there's a lot of chapters
Yeah.
and states out there doing some great things. I
Yeah.
actually had a call right before this one about our social media training that we're doing on the 14th for JCI USA with a chapter in Virginia. I've noticed that they were doing the 100 awesome people, and they're making these beautiful flyers and images and graphics for it. And I've been following them. I'm like, keep typing in the comments. Make sure you send this to 100 anniversary at jciusa.org. But I was encouraging them tonight too, because they are doing an outstanding job with their reach on social media. And I know Jennifer Smith is also doing the 100 awesome people in Missouri. So she's the president there. And so we have a lot of places and chapters that are doing it. And
Yes,
it's super
absolutely.
exciting.
Yeah, we've got several chapters between New Jersey and New York that are doing great projects. And this is a great time. So, for every chapter, every state that's doing any of these projects, not only submitting it, but making sure to advertise it and tag it back to the 100th anniversary, because that's phenomenal public relations and the ability that if you weren't already getting picked up from a media source, that having that interest story of here's an organization that has been around and relevant and impactful for 100 years. And even in the face of a pandemic, we're still making a difference and we're still impacting people. So absolutely, to continue doing that during this, while we continue ongoing celebration of the century activities.
Right. And if anybody on here that's watching right now doesn't know, as far as writing press releases, JCI USA, when you go to jcmember.com and you log into your account, you're able to create a press release right there in your profile. And so if you're doing it for a project, the next project chair that's doing it next year will also be able to see it, and they'll be able to use that same template, and you can send it straight from email address or straight to email addresses there. So that's a really handy feature that we have now on jcmember.com if you didn't know.
And that is, I remember hearing about that during a Senate JC task force conversation of how we can better help each other with our organizations. And man, I was like, that is an amazing tool and resource. I'm a little jealous it wasn't around a couple years ago, but that is phenomenal because
Well,
we continue to be really a secret at times, and we need not to be, because the JCs are, I mean, why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? This is amazing.
right. Well, and people kind of, because social media is so large now, people kind of forget that there are people that still get the newspaper. And,
Mm-hmm.
like news still has their online presence and they're wanting to sell ads. So they want our stories. They want our feel good stories, our events, because every click that they get on their website goes back to their analytics where they can sell more ads. So, I mean, it's a big circle. They want your stories. We just forget to send them because we just
Yeah.
we posted it on Facebook.
Right. And, I would always tell people, Google yourself, like Google your chapter, Google your state. And that's what people do. I mean, we still do it to this day, right? The first time you hear about something, you want to fact check it, you Google it. And to come up with media stories, not just Facebook links, it's so critical to adding, really validity to what we're doing, even beyond what we already know we're doing. So that's I'm so excited to hear about that tool, and I hope people are taking advantage of it.
Right. Yeah. I really do too, because it's definitely a feature that we've needed because we've kind of forgotten about it. And press releases, I love them. So I'm kind of like you with math. I love press releases, and it's kind of a lost art. So
Right. Well, and actually, as we talk about with the press releases, again, a great way to advertise the 100th anniversary, get some more information about it. And, 100 years from now, when the next NVP Miranda is doing Flashback Fridays, we'll make sure that there's plenty of articles that they can then be referring to from the year 2020 of all the
right,
things we were doing. So, and since you have me on Leadership Live, I have to put in a plug because we will continue to accept sponsorship. So initially we were looking at August 31st, which is really why we picked this date, right?
right,
To do this Leadership Live. So we're looking at August 31st this year of saying, hey, let's get all the sponsorships in to guarantee all your cool swag for the 100th anniversary celebration in October. Well, you have some extra time now. You've been given the gift of time, and you can continue to sponsor Celebration of the Century really all the way through next year. So if you haven't had a chance to get your sponsorship in, starting levels at $50, going up to as much money as you would like to donate or to sponsor, we will happily accept that. So keep that in mind. I know there were several folks I talked to who just had some concerns because of finances and pandemic. So this gives a little bit more time, and anyone can become a sponsor for as little as $50.
Now, are any of those sponsorships, are they able to write them off?
They are not. It is a sponsorship and not a donation, and that is because it's funds towards JCI USA to help with the celebration of the century extravaganza, as we're calling it, as well as all of the other things along the way. So you will be receiving at each level. You receive different swag. And you can go on the JCI USA website and find the listing of what you get for each level. So it is not a donation, but should you want to do a donation to support the organization, and certainly not Celebration of the Century based, but there is the USJC Foundation, which is also another critical resource for JCs across the country.
Yeah, and that one's definitely a 501c3.
Yeah.
So. Hi, Joe. If you want to join JCI USA, you can go log into jcmember.com, and I will put the text on my screen up here. And at the very bottom, it says find a chapter near you. And if there is not one near you, we certainly would love to make one near you. And so if you want to reach out, we have several different people on the membership team. You can reach out to membership director Ross or chapter development director Emily. And then we have metro director Neil Fitzgerald. So we have several people on our membership team, and we would love to have you join the JCs. Let me put it on one that's not scrolling. So speaking of having more time to have sponsorships, now would be a perfect time to ask your Senate to maybe really help. And you just happen to be the Senate liaison. So do you want to give some updates on your new role and what you actually do as Senate liaison?
Sure. So I had the best training ever from my predecessor. And for those who are not aware, the JCI USA liaison predecessor was none other than Rob Ray, who happens to be my most amazing husband. So took the role from him, and he is on to doing other amazing things to help the Senate organization. And this year, I have the extreme honor and privilege of serving as JCI USA liaison, as well as Return the Favor program manager. So what that means is on behalf of the National Senate organization, I coordinate and communicate with JCI USA at the national level, and also work to make sure that there's some great communications happening between JCs and senators. So just taking it back a quick step, for those who are listening who may not know what a senator is, it is somebody who has been who's received their senatorship. So it's a chapter award, really, but it's an international recognition. So it is the best of the JCs, and it's recognized across the entire international organization, and it is a huge honor. And it is one that also has its own organization with conventions and conferences and meetings and events, and really is focused on continuing the fellowship that we all learned in the JC organization, but also returning the favor, so helping JCs out. So I work to, as I said, make sure there's communication between both organizations, but also really finding ways to encourage senators to give meaningful resources and assistance back to the JCs. So
Right.
mention Return the Favor. So that is its own program in the Senate organization as well. And calling all JCs, if you know a senator who has helped you and really made a difference for you, for your chapter, for your state organization, there is a nomination form. It's on usjcisenate.org. And it's called Return the Favor. And the first submission is actually due on Tuesday, September 1. And you can nominate senators who have just done so much that's made a difference and helped you as a JC, helped your chapter. And it really requires just really up to 2 letters from JCs recommending individuals. So this is a great way as JCs to even further honor and recognize those senators who could easily just kind of go off and do their own thing, but instead they believe in the JC organization so much, they're still helping out every chance they get.
So when you submit someone, does it have to be a senator from your state, or could I nominate, let's just say Rob Ray or Jim Ray?
Well, of course you can nominate Rob Ray. It does not have to be a senator from your state. The only stipulation is that there are senators who are still of JC age, and you're not returning the favor at that point because you're still a JC. So you're doing your job as a JC by helping to make sure there's a really strong JC organization. So that is the only stipulation, is it does need to be a senator who is no longer an of age JC. And if you know somebody who has helped and you're seeing it, and you want to write a letter of nomination for somebody, you're in Mississippi and it's somebody in New York or, Maryland, you're certainly welcome to do that. It's really about just recognizing those people, and through that recognition, just trying to promote the idea to all senators everywhere on how to assist. senators are not encouraged to go out and actively recruit JCs, unless, of course, it's somebody and you know them well, because obviously we're not the face of the organization any longer. But they are encouraged to do everything they can to help support, because, quite frankly, a much stronger JC organization is a much brighter Senate future.
Correct. Yes, and the Senate, y'all offer trainings and stuff as well for the senators, right?
Yes, and I mentioned earlier the Senate JC Task Force. So there was a group of individuals who got together to really talk about what can we do to promote and enhance the relationship and the partnership between the two organizations. So a few things came out of it. One is actually a podcast. And so I do a podcast on behalf of the USJCI Senate. It is the official podcast of the USJCI Senate called Coffee Talk Connections. And currently have been going through, and actually there's one that will be coming out tomorrow on social media. It's already on the Senate website, and it is a podcast with Jci USA National President Justin. And we're just talking about, JC careers and projects, and for JCs, these are great things to listen to, because some of the folks I'll be talking to and asking about their projects are ones that maybe you want to think about recreating in your own community. So things that had been done, maybe in the 60s or 70s or 80s, they can be brushed off, made relevant for today's society, but done again as a new project idea within your community.
Yeah, speaking of that, I've been doing a whole lot of research, obviously, and I've kind of become a JC historian in a sense, doing the Flashback Fridays.
I love them. You've been doing awesome, by the way. Thank you so much. I know how much work it is. So kudos.
Well, they turned out to be so much fun, actually, because I'm a nerd when it comes to history too. So press releases and history, it was right up my alley, looking up news stuff. So but
I handle your math for you. You handle all that.
Thank you. But when I see some of these projects that they ran back then, they are completely relevant still today. And I don't understand why they quit. It used to be a national project that a lot of local chapters ran, was a JC driving rodeo. And I don't know how many younger people on here have ever watched every single episode of Brady Bunch, but I have. But it's kind of like on that one where Peter and they were taking the driving test, and they had to go through the cones and back up and not hit the egg off. But that was the driving rodeo. And then the insurance companies paired up with the winners and gave them a little bit more of a discount if they were safer. So, little things like that. I'm like, wow, why not?
Yes, those are great ideas. And, I think sometimes because with JCs, they were such great projects and great ideas that others picked them up and took them on. So I know in different areas, it might be that truly the insurance companies are doing it now. But there's, and so that leaves time and opportunity to create new projects. But if insurance companies don't do it any longer, you're right. Those are some great projects. And we learn from our history. I remember back when I was a chapter president, the very first thing that I did was I picked up the history, and my chapter was struggling very much so. When I became chapter president, we really didn't have much of a chapter any longer. So we really had to rebuild, and there wasn't anyone there to say this is how it had been done. So, which was sometimes frustrating because we had no resources, but in a way it was really liberating too, because we're we could do anything we want to. And so we grabbed some history and actually rehashed some of the old projects. And that's how we've rebuilt that chapter. Once upon a time, they'd done an art auction, and then they had lessons learned of, don't do it every year. So we didn't. We did it every other year. And it really helped rebuild the chapter.
Yeah. And if you just Google your chapter, there's definitely some projects that you probably didn't know about, and they are super easy. My home chapter, we were cleaning out our shed, and I had never been in there, and there were a slew of Daisy BB guns. And then I found out that we used to be national partners with them and have a huge BB gun safety or hunter safety type thing. And so I made that post, and Daisy International still shared it this year.
That's awesome.
And, it's been at least 30 years since we've been in that partnership, but
Yeah. And
Yes.
even if you don't have that written history, so going back with your Senate organization, that's the perfect time to just have a conversation. I know we're not all going out and grabbing coffee right now, or grabbing whatever beverage you prefer, but even just picking up the phone, or socially distancing, having coffee in a park or something, and just sit down one-on-one and talk with some of your senators in your state, because they're a wealth of information of, okay, so what projects did we used to do, and how could we make it relevant today.
Right. And a lot of it still is relevant. One of the senators that I was working with when I opened chapters in Mississippi, he had told me his old recruiting stories, and they still worked. And it was kind of that whole, well, I don't necessarily want to join unless you really do this. And I was like, so I went into him and I said, okay, well, if I get 20 members, will you be number 21? And I did that to several of them. And then at our first banquet, I was like, well, the 21st members stand up. And there were like 7 of them that did it. But I mean, it worked. So,
Yes.
and that was a trick I had learned from him. And I probably shouldn't broadcast that all over the internet. If I want to open a chapter, it may not work. But
yeah, but hopefully they're not paying attention, and all the members are learning this trick right now.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, I wound up telling the local chapter that I started what I did, and they thought it was hilarious. But I mean, it was the best joke prank on them ever because they became leaders.
That's great.
So, all right. Well, is there anything else that you want to touch on Return the Favor or Celebration of the Century?
Just for return the favor, keep in mind, recognize those individuals who are helping you. You can find that form at usjcisenate.org, and certainly reach out and let me know if you're having trouble finding it. So that deadline for this quarter is September 1, but there will be more. That's 3 times a year we'll have that submission. And then for Celebration of the Century, be on the lookout. I know JCI USA has a lot more exciting information to give about the upcoming virtual event, but there will be a nod to our Celebration of the Century during one of those sessions, and a chance to meet a lot of people you've probably heard about but have never met before. And that's all I'm going to say. So it's going to keep everybody really excited, and keep looking at the Facebook page.
Now I'm super excited. So, because I don't even know any of this. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking this little bit of time out with me tonight and telling JCI USA and all of our viewers a little bit more about the things that we talked about, the Celebration of the Century and the Return the Favor. Like she said, the websites it's posted, it's scrolling on the bottom of the screen. So we have that there. Reach out to her. You can reach out to anybody on the national exec team, and we will be happy to help you with any questions that you might have about the Senate or the programs they run, or either the Celebration of the Century. And we will see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you.